Okay. And make sure nobody else is waiting on in our group for this. I'm glad you could all find the link. Sometimes I'm not sure how that's going to go.
You do have a few people that are in the group that are looking for the link right now that are in the event page.
Oh, they're in the event. Okay. Because I'm
Yeah,
like,
in
I'm
the
on
event.
page.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hillary. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why that's hard to find. Like the link is right there, but
Mine wasn't working earlier, but it is working now. I'm here, so you can ignore my post.
okay. I was like, wait, I thought Janaya was on there. Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes it's tricky to find what you need on there. Okay. Hillary, thank you for that. If you see anybody pop in anymore, can you like just alert me? Because I'm probably not going to be paying much attention to the
Yeah,
group.
no problem. I'll monitor it for you.
I'll appreciate that. All right. So if you guys don't pop questions in the chat, then I'm just going to start yakking at you. So I'll kind of like tell you what our options were for today. This came up just randomly because my kids are away and I'm like, how can I make the most of my time and help people? And normally, and I want you all to have this mindset too, normally my time is really valuable and I don't do free stuff often because I would be on my computer all day long answering questions for people. So normally I charge for, for coaching or 1-hour calls or, workshops. And I want you to do the same too. Like, don't let your clients take you away from the things that are important to you. But my kids are away and I have time. So that's how this came up. I'm like, hey, I can take an hour or two and just help people as many as I can. So with that in mind, I'm like, whatever you guys need, Q&A, or if you want me to address a specific topic, now's your chance to drop it in the chat. If there's nobody and you're just kind of like, oh, I'm just here for whatever, anything, I do have a presentation that I did for Jane from Pixello. So I can pull that up. I have it ready to go. And it's basically like all the points of getting started in newborn photography, which I know a lot of you are and already experienced. But what I thought we could do is with each of those points, I can kind of like pause. And if you have a question about it specifically, then we can dive in deeper with that topic, if that makes sense. So the presentation is just kind of like surfacey, but then we can dive in more. So why don't you guys in the chat just kind of tell me what your thoughts are, if the presentation and Q&A sounds good, or if you have something specific you want me to address right now, go ahead and drop that in there. Maybe if you have, hopefully at that, like near that second half, we can dive into like your galleries and give you some constructive criticism, but I don't want to do that at the beginning for people who it wouldn't be valuable for if it's not their gallery. So I will do that for sure, like halfway through. So if you have a gallery you want me to see, or even if it's just on your website, like, hey, can you check out my portfolio on my website? You can drop the link in the chat and I'll get to that as well. So whatever works, sounds good. Okay. All right. Well, no complaining if I don't answer your question because they're not there. So, so
Can I ask you a question, Stacy? I'm
yes.
holding the baby, so I
Oh,
can't
hello,
really.
baby. You're getting
This is
big.
my youngest grandson.
Oh, I figured
and I
it
have
was,
him
but
today.
man, he's big.
Yeah, you should see his legs. Y'all would love these legs.
Funky monkey.
I still feel like I'm inconsistent on when I'm doing a bum up. The face, sometimes the head's back and I don't like the way it looks, or am I getting the head up too high or too low?
Okay.
I feel like I'm inconsistent. I feel really good about it overall ever since you helped me with it. We had our mentorship, but I still feel like sometimes, oh, that head looks funny.
Looks weird.
And the
Yeah.
cheek's all squishy, but sometimes the cheek, can't say that together. Cheek isn't squishy.
Yeah.
And it's more like luck, I think, than skill when it is right. Yesterday, I had a little girl that I did really good with, but the little boy I did last week, I felt like his neck was real long and his head was popped back. Is there a certain way to make sure their head's where you want it?
I do find that sometimes I have to, so the poser, when the baby's on the poser, they need to be at the edge of that poser. But sometimes I find I do have to kind of add some stuff behind the head to keep them. I know what you mean about like the rolling back, like they're rolling.
And
Do you mean like
this.
rolling? Yeah, like rolling back away
Yes.
from the camera.
And then the mouth drops open.
Yeah,
is
so I do
attractive.
sometimes have to put something behind the head, a little bit of lift there, whether that's fluff or just adjust your poser so that it tilts a little bit. Cause yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's happened to me and I just reach under there and adjust it as needed.
Okay.
Do you have, in the squish, sometimes pillow fluff helps under that, sometimes it doesn't.
I tried that. I don't know if I didn't understand how to do
Yeah.
that or,
What I do is like, I will put my hand under there and I will pretend my hand is like a lift or something and just kind of like manipulate.
okay,
And then when I see the squish where I want it or like the head where I want it, then I adjust,
okay,
replace my hand with whatever. It could be an issue of too, they might need to be more on the incline instead of up on top of the poser.
okay.
Do you have an example
tried-
you can show me?
It's the transformer that I use from Mallory. My computer tells me it's getting ready to die. I'm listening.
Okay.
I just got to go get the
Okay.
but and I can send you one. How do I put it up on here?
If you just want to, you can just Facebook message me that. That's fine. And then
Okay.
I can pull it up.
And just I'll
compare.
show you the good one and the bad one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go get
Yeah,
my bathroom
We'll
thing.
see you in a minute. All right, so Diane has a question. I know what kind of lights in PLM you use, but do you use the same light setup when you do headshots? Yes, I do. So I actually use 2 lights for newborns. And then I use my Godox for headshots. And I also have the silver, you can look at it on Amazon. It's the silver curved half moon reflector. I put that underneath like their chest. So here I can snag the link so you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I do use the same light. I use my Godox for that, but I make the light more even.
Okay, so do you use one Godox or do you use 2?
Yeah, I generally just use one.
Oh,
Here
okay.
it is. Because
And
if
then-
you, with your big enough PLM, here.
Do you use your big 86-inch PLM with that?
Yep. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I do have a beauty dish that I use sometimes for, here, I'm dropping it in the chat. I
Okay.
have a beauty dish that I'll use for like pageant type, shots. It's just whatever I'm in the mood for. I don't notice enough of a difference so much, but if I really want like the hair to shine and that kind of thing, I will use the beauty dish. But like on a corporate headshot, I don't need that like glam look. So I
Okay.
just use my PLM for that. But
Uh-huh.
instead of completely feathering it like you do with a baby, I do try to like make it more even. So I
Okay.
still tilt my light, I still put it out in front, but it's aimed at them a little bit more.
Okay,
Years ago when I first started doing headshots, I was positioning it like I would for a maternity or a newborn,
uh-huh.
and they actually had to have me re-edit it because of the shadow. Like he was a what's the head of a company? But they didn't like that shadow. They needed it very even.
So they like flat lighting?
Not flat, but even, so
Okay.
you don't want to have 2 lights, like you don't want them to look like cut out. So there's
Okay.
still like some shadow like under the nose and in the right places, but it wasn't that like half lit face.
So, and then that eye light, because I was looking at those eyelighters, I think they're by Westcott. I think that's kind of what you were talking about underneath. I
Yeah.
was thinking of getting one of those to add to it.
Yeah, I like
Okay.
that the reflector does, a great job of that. It just kind of
Okay.
brightens up the neckline and the
Yeah,
face.
yeah, yeah.
And they can kind of lean on it too, so it can help with like just giving some
Oh.
dimension to their body. They
Okay.
can just put their hands up on it. The only thing is it doesn't, for me, I don't think the stand that it comes with doesn't go low enough. Like for shorter people, you might have to put them up on a stool. So just keep that in
Okay.
mind. Oh, we've got some
Okay.
more people trying to get
Okay,
in
cool.
here. Sorry, I'm admitting all these people here. Okay. What lens do you use, prime or zoom? I use a 24-70. I've tried to switch back to my 50. Prefer my 24-70. It never leaves my camera for the most part. For newborns. For maternity, I sometimes put on my, 82, 85. But yeah, I like I like my 24 to 70. Because you can zoom in, you can be close to the baby while you're zoomed out. I don't have to switch lenses during a session. What are some maternity edits that you do? What do you mean by maternity edits? For the most part, I outsource my editing. I have an amazing editor, but if I'm doing like a sample edit, I will use Totally Rad or Portraiture. Another thing I'll sometimes do is extend the leg line. I don't know if that's the kind of edits you're talking about. I do have some like floral and like gold rings that I can put in the background, like just digital backdrops. Oh, an eye light. Yeah, I have, April, you're asking Diane about the eye light? Zoom. Next question. I just got some 6-meter satin fabric. Perfect. Do you have videos of how to drape them from return shots? Would love to try various looks. I'm just trying. No, somebody else has asked me that question too. I don't have a video for it. All I have is like sample photos I can show you. But it is on my to-do list. I don't mentor in maternity, but I know a lot of people are interested in a video for that. So I may do a free one sometime if I can get a maternity model in there. With some of my fabric, I did cut off, I think I did like 2 pieces, like a 6 yard and then another 3 or 4, so that I could tie like a top around them basically and just kind of play with that. So I had 2 pieces, one for the bottom, one for the top. Really, I encourage you to just experiment with your fabric. So you can try, draping the whole thing on. You can try just draping the end and then letting the rest flow, cutting some off so that you can drape it diagonal or straight across. Like, don't get hung up so much on like what other people have done, but like, I encourage you to just get in there and play. So if you can get a model, that's what I did when I got my fabric. I just got a model in and I'm like, let's try this, let's try that. And it was great and it turned out great. Obviously you can have inspiration, but I encourage you to take that inspiration and like play with it and make it your own. But no, I don't have a video, all that to say. Do you get the fish eye when you edit? How do you take care of that? I don't know what you mean by the fish eyes. Anybody else know what the fish eye is? April, I see you're shaking your head.
I've
Yeah,
seen.
I think they're
sure.
talking about that curvature of the lens that you can correct in Lightroom. I shoot with my 24-70 as well for newborn, and I don't ever get that curvature or that abnormal shaping of the image.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like the 35 because I don't like that big head look. I didn't know that's what people called it, but no, for a 24 to 70, I don't have to do any of that. Newborn backdrops, I try Amazon, but they're usually super tiny. Jessica, do you mean, so there's different kinds of backdrops. Do you mean like for bucket shots or like the fabric for the table? I can kind of answer both of those, I guess. But for like bucket shots, I love Intuition backgrounds. They're the to-go pack, so they're like the petites. I like the shorter seamless paper rolls. And then for fabric, a lot of mine has come from Joann's and Hobby Lobby, the 2-way stretch. And then what is Freebird? Denai, you probably know if that's right. I think Freebird is where I love their backdrops for the table. And you can get like the secondhand, like there might be a stain or a rip on it. And it's usually like on the corner where you wouldn't photograph anyway. So I love theirs. But really, if you just go to like a fabric store and get 2-way stretch jersey knit, that's what you need. And I also love Fancy Fabric and props if you're wanting like a themed set. So I have like, for some reason, Harry Potter is requested many times a year. So I finally just broke down and bought a Harry Potter backdrop from Fancy Fabric. And then I can put like a bucket on it with like the Harry Potter tie and stuff. So those are my favorites. All right. What are some great suggestions to ask parents up front? Suggestions on mastering the in the bucket pose with head and hand crossed hands. Okay. Questions to ask parents up front. My questionnaire is, well, Do you mean after they book or like when they're thinking about booking? After they book, my questionnaire is pretty basic. I ask if there's a theme they want included and then what colors they want used and who will be in the session. And then I just kind of run with that to design my sets. And then mastering the in the bucket pose. The biggest problem with the bucket pose that most people start off doing wrong is they overstuff it. So you don't need to overstuff the front. And I know even from my very first one from years ago, the baby was like up really high. There was tons of padding. You want the butt down in the bucket and then just enough like softness around the rim just to protect them from like being on that hard surface. You don't need like a giant pillow in the front. So that's probably the biggest thing. And then making sure the elbows are pulled apart, because when you talked about crossed hands, yes, you want crossed hands, not crossed elbows or crossed wrists. So pull those elbows out so that they can kind of sink into the hands more.
Okay, because every time I've tried it, like I feel like the baby just kind of like slumps into the bucket almost, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, is there not enough
you-
padding?
Do you have an example that you can message me?
I can try and see if I have one.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I do.
It sounds like probably what the issue is, if they're slumping like that, is their butt's not down in the bucket enough. So you want their back to
Okay.
arch.
Yeah.
And so if they're looking down, because they should be looking up toward the light a little bit and
Yeah.
towards you. So if they're not, then you need to get their butt down more.
Okay. And how are their legs? Are they like crossed?
You can do it either way. You can do it kind of
Okay.
on their knees or like crisscross.
Okay.
Kind of
So maybe
depends
I'm
on the
starting
baby and their
off-
size.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Okay.
usually start off kind of like crisscross applesauce. I put their butt on a
Okay.
pillow and their feet kind of in front of them.
Okay.
I prefer that because then if they're but even last week I did do a baby where it would just work better with their knees when they're on their knees. But I prefer their feet out in front just so I can see circulation. If their feet are under them and like they're shoved in a bucket with a bunch of pillows, I can't keep an eye on the toes and stuff and don't know if anything circulation's getting cut off. So I prefer that they're just feet are in front of them because I know it's comfortable and they're not being pressed against the edge of the bucket or something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Do you have a special heater or extra heater to warm your space when you do newborn to keep them? Yes, I do. I turn it up to high 70s, low 80s, a space heater. And then on the table, I warm up the spot with a heating pad. But just make sure the heating pad is under your lowest layer. So you're going to have the heating pad and then like 5 or 6 layers at least of blankets. And then we turn the heating pad off when we go to put the baby on, just for safety. But you want it on the very most bottom layer in case you accidentally forget to turn it off. Then the baby should still be fine and not overheating or anything like that. And if you forget, there's not going to be any burns or anything. But I just heat up the spot and then turn it off. Years ago, I used to just put it on top, heat it up, and then move it off. So you can do that too. But yes, I do keep the area really warm. And the space heater is on the baby the whole time I'm posing at the table. And then while I'm wrapping, but as soon as the baby's swaddled up, we turn the heater off because you don't want them to overheat. What would you be the first steps as a beginner should master at before adding steps? I tend to want to do it all at once. Yes. So, Kaylin, we are gonna, when I get to my presentation, that is one of the slides, like your first step. So are you good with waiting to see that? Because it's all typed out. And that seeing it visually might help you better. Yes, Jess, fabric. Just go to Joann and they get new kinds all the time. So just when you're over in the area, stop in and just check and see. Some of my favorite fabrics have come from there. Textures and colors. I love Freebird. Yeah, stuff's awesome. Oh, see, Dana, you're so good about knowing who runs these shops. That's what I was telling you. I need to make a document or a photo album so I know who the owner is and what the vendor is. They're taking a 2-week break. Okay. No, I've not dyed my own. I wouldn't want to dye my own. I just buy it like I want it. Do you offer examples of those questionnaires? Yes, I do, April. The questionnaires is, I think, under client forms. If you can't find it, let me know and I will send you the direct link. Jess says, I'm terrible at buckets. I always put a pillow in mine. So you need a pillow like under the butt, but not up front. You just need a little bit up front. If you have I always forget the transformer. Yeah, that's what it is, right? Transforming system no, it's not. Help me, Denia. This is the one I always forget. There's a freeform light and then there's the big one. Is it Hello Little? No.
Modest little me.
Modest Little Me. Thank you.
You're
Modest Little
welcome.
Me. Those never roll off my tongue. Modest Little Me, I use that bucket thing. It's got like wire in it, but so you can kind of shape it, but it's soft on the outside. It's not super thick. That's what I use. But before I got that, all I did was like use fluff or a wrap or whatever you have just to make a little bit of a soft edge. So yeah, you don't need a pillow up front. You need a pillow under the butt. Do you shoot Kelvin or Gray card? Struggling with skin tones with my Nikon D6II. Not sure what to use for white balance. So I use an Expo disc in the studio and it does shoot like clean white. So if you want a little bit of a warmer look, which I do sometimes, I will warm it up in post, but I at least know my whites are going to be white and consistent. If I'm somewhere where I forget to bring that, like at a training or something, or if I'm noticing that the true white balance just isn't how I want it, then I will shoot at Kelvin, and generally like 55, 5600. When I'm using my LED lights, I put it on 5,000 because the lights are 5,000. So I match that number to the lights so I don't get that like mixed color look, and then I can edit it in post to be a little warmer if I need to. Yes, you can leave the baby's wrap to put in the bucket. That was another reason I sometimes, the foot position can be different. I will wrap the bottom half of the baby. It kind of depends on where bucket falls in the session. If it's a priority and we do it first, then the baby's probably not going to be swaddled. If it's partway through the session, the bottom half may be swaddled. So it just kind of depends where it happens. I actually have better luck when they're not swaddled because I can arch their back better. Sometimes if they're like a big ball in the bottom of, like they're swaddled up and they're a ball at the bottom, I can't move their butt back and get their back to arch like I want. All right, who do I need to mute here? Okay, let's see. Do you shoot older babies, 5 weeks older? Yes, I do. I never turn anybody away. I just let them know that they might not get the curled up poses that they see on my portfolio and that I take the baby's lead. So I'm very upfront with what they should expect, but I do take older babies. If it's up to 6 weeks, I count it as a newborn. So they will pay my newborn session fee. It will be a 3-hour shoot, 2 to 3 hours. If it's over 6 weeks and they were an on-time baby, then that is a milestone. And so that's going to be a little bit and a short. We're not going to do all the sets and poses that we do for newborn. Best time of day to shoot? Anytime. I mean, yeah, Modest Little Me. Thank you. So before I went full time, I was doing sessions all hours of the day. My regular start time when I was still teaching was 1 o'clock because I taught in the morning, went home, ate my lunch, and then I was at the studio for 1 o'clock sessions. Now I do them in the morning because it works better for me. And when I was first starting, I was full-time teaching and I had to do them in the evenings and weekends. Babies will sleep. I mean, when they're newborns, they're sleeping all the time anyway. I have never had a problem no matter what time of day I do it. So a lot of people prefer morning because the babies are super sleepy, but I think new babies are sleepy all the time. So, yeah, I guess morning, but if you don't have a morning time, then don't sweat it. You'll be fine. I kind of struggle with skin tone as well because some babies are dark red and parents want to add dark purple wraps, which does not do well with their already purple. Yes. So when that happens, Jess, you get an amazing editor like I have and you pay them $3 a picture and you have them tone down the red skin. You can do it on your own for sure, but you have to be good at like masking off because you want that purple to stay purple. So you need to, in Lightroom, they've made it easy now. You can select the skin and just take the red hues out of it. So it's actually pretty easy to do now. But there's not much you can do in camera if you are shooting on like pinks, reds, or purples, and the baby's also kind of pink, because you have to keep your true tone. So there's not much you can do in camera to adjust for that without messing up like the purple wrap or fabric or whatever. I did a 5-week baby yesterday, and that was one of my best babies ever. Yay, Rita, that's awesome. What time in the morning? I start at like 9:30 or 10. You don't want to do too early because, I mean, it doesn't matter to the baby. It matters to the parents. You just don't want to, you know, they're new parents, they're exhausted. So you don't want to do too early for their benefit. But who was I talking to? It might have been at the St. Louis workshop, and somebody wanted a session and there was like no time. And so they agreed to come in at like 6 a.m. So it doesn't matter to you and the baby. It matters to the parents what they're comfortable with. What's the best advertisement platform? So if you mean like advertising, like marketing, it's your website is the biggest one. The social media will get you cheaper paying clients. So I go there for my model calls for sure. But they're going to be, most of the time, they're going to be people who will haggle you and be a little more difficult to deal with. Not always. I've gotten some of my best clients from there too. But the majority of my clients come from Google. So it's your website presence is the best one. I don't pay for ads right now. And I think I haven't for like years, maybe at least 5 years. And I didn't get much return on investment when I did it. So yes, investing in your SEO, which is search engine optimization, making sure you're ranking on Google. I was just checking mine today to make sure I'm still up there. So, yes, I do travel around. My next one is in Indiana, and then I will be in Texas is that January or February? The imaging conference is going to be in Texas, and it's Sunday through, I want to say Wednesday or something like that. So my workshop is actually going to be Saturday. So my hope is everyone will come to the newborn workshop on Saturday, and then we will continue learning together for the conference Sunday through Wednesday or Thursday.
Stacy, how far is the distance between the workshop and where imaging is?
It's really close. So I'm actually going to stay, the workshop's more like in Fort Worth area. But it's super close. So I think I'm going to stay at the same hotel and just drive into the workshop. So it's not bad, because that was one of the things I wanted to make sure of. The town's actually called Azle, Texas, if you want to look it up.
Hazel?
I think it's Azle.
Oh, Hazel. Okay.
Let me look real quick.
I've never
Or
heard
is
of
it
that.
actual Azle, Texas? Yeah, Azle, Texas. And I guess it's close to like Fort Worth area.
Okay.
But yeah, you can look it up. Yeah, that's Fort Worth area. And then the conference is in Galveston, right? Or something like
No,
Or
no,
no, Dallas. What's the name of the,
I can't think of the name of
starts
it.
with a G, doesn't it?
Grapevine.
Grapevine, there it is. Yes. Yes. Grapevine. So if you look up Azle to Grapevine, I'm looking, oh, there's Grapevine on the map. Yeah, oh yeah, it's super close.
Okay.
So
Like walking close?
no,
okay.
driving close or Ubering close for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Here it is right here. So here's Azle down on the left, and then Grapevine right here. So right there to there. Okay. I think AZLE. Okay, how do you check your ranking on Google? So each month you should be getting your Google Analytics. That's one place you can check. And then Hillary, if you're still here, you're gonna have to help me because I forget again. Moz Explorer is one, and these are all the things I check. I check Moz, Google Analytics, and Yes.
I can look at my thing and I can link them.
do you
if
remember we
want in
were
the
talking
comments.
about this?
Yes.
And I can't remember the third place. And yeah, SEMrush is a good one. Shoot.
I gotta pull them
It's
off my
escaped
tab.
me.
I have too many things to remember, but I will pull them off my tab and I'll just link them. in
That
the
would be great.
comments
Thank
here.
you.
I'll do that now.
Yeah, and then kind of an unofficial way is you can go to like an incognito tab and type in what you're trying to rank for. But that's not exactly accurate and it doesn't tell you specifically like where you're ranking, but you can kind of get an idea at least if you're like on page 1. But yes, you need to be checking those. Let me see. Moz Explorer is one. And yeah, Hillary's going to grab us the other link. For some reason, the other one has escaped my mind. We'll link those though. All right, what other questions before I know we need to come back to getting started, which is in the presentation. Any others? See. I'm going to put this into Moz really quick and see if that's going to benefit you guys to look at. I might have to actually log in. Yeah, SEMrush is one. Keyword Explorer is free for, yeah, you can do like a trial period. I thought I had it, but it's want me to buy it. So I'll have to look into that later. But those two, I would say. Yeah, there's the Moz link. How much to make off model shoots? Don't plan on making money off of your model calls. They rarely buy anything and that's not the purpose of them. So the purpose of a model call is to work on very specific things. If you're just doing model calls because you want to get clients, that's the wrong idea for a model call. Your model call is for it to practice like 2 or 3 poses and to become the master at those, or like to practice your lighting, or there's a very specific reason you're doing it. And you can't expect to make money off of them. These are people who are coming to a free session, so they're probably not going to spend money. So just get that out of your mind, because otherwise you're just going to be disappointed when they don't buy anything. So, but yeah, you would still charge them. So you would give them like a few, and I go over this in coaching too. We have a whole model call lesson. You're going to give them a few images. You're not going to give them everything. And then if they want more, then you would charge them for the extras. Images for models or for the session. For models, I usually do like 4 or 5 pictures. For galleries, like regular clients, minimum of, I'd say 30 for proofs, but normally my average is around 50, but it can go up to like 70 depending on if there was family and siblings or dogs or things like that. But somewhere between 30 and 50 is what you should aim for your proofing gallery. If you are up over 100, that's way too many, because then your clients are going to have decision paralysis, and instead of making a decision, they're going to make no decision, or they're going to make a cheap decision. So you want to keep it small. You want to call your images down more. So if you have 3 very similar pictures, you eliminate 2 of them. Yeah, so just a few for models. You don't want to do too many. What social media platforms do you use, and which do you take the most effort? So I use Facebook and Instagram. I post to daily. TikTok, I post to maybe like once a week, just because those take time to do the videos. Google Analytics, okay, she's dropping these links here. That's good. And then LinkedIn, I'm on there. I don't use a ton. I just recently linked Instagram to Pinterest. So that way all of my posts from Instagram will post to Pinterest. And I think that's probably it for social media. I would say Instagram probably gets higher quality leads than Facebook, or at least people see your Instagram more. Facebook algorithm right now is really bad. I don't get much interaction on Facebook, but it's nice for when people are like reaching out and I say, have you seen my portfolio? And they'll say like, no, then I can send them there and it's up to date. So it's nice to send people to it, even if it doesn't get me a ton of leads. Thank you. Google Search Console. That's the one I was missing. So there's where you're
That's what
gonna,
I thought it was. After I thought
Yeah.
about it for a minute, that's what I thought it was. So there it
yeah,
is.
thank you. Appreciate it. And you can dive into those. There's lots of information on those. Oh, let's see. Hopefully, sorry, Jean, I don't hope you weren't in the waiting room too long. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just pull this up because I did this as a presentation for very beginner newborn photographers a while ago for Pixello. And since I already did the work behind it, I will show it to you guys. And then on each slide, I'm just going to pause. So instead of it being a presentation, I want it to be more of a discussion. So I want you to think of these slides as like a guidepost for our questions and our discussion, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me go up here, get it ready, and I will share my screen. Just do the whole thing. Now I can never find like where to hit play on this thing. Slideshow. There we go. From beginning. Hey, can everybody see that? I can't see the chat right now, so just a couple of you say yes if you can see that.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you who were wanting to get started, and then for anybody else, it's not gonna let me click through these. You serious? Okay, here we go. So here's a little bit about me. You guys have been in my group, but some of you are in the group and don't realize it's me running it. So it's kind of important that you know who I am. I was a public school teacher for 20 years, but I've been doing photography since 4-H when I was a kid.
was never used.
Oh, somebody needs to mute themselves. My studio is in Columbus, Ohio, and I've been mentoring for about the last 2 years now. It might be a little longer than that. I do in-person and virtual. I do workshops, I do one-on-one, and then I do virtual coaching. And then I've got 2 boys and lots of pets. Guinea pigs, hamsters, cat, and dogs. These posts are really just to encourage you because I get a lot of comments like, oh, goals or one day. And I'm like, yeah, you can. Like, I don't want you to know where you're at because we all start somewhere. And as you can see, this was my first newborn. And then here's my like current newborn quality. So if somebody is getting on their high horse and like kind of not making fun, but if they're just harsh with you, just remind them yourself that they started as a beginner too. All right, there's a chat question here. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Now that I'm quick, newborn till my lighting was horrible when I first started. I got one of those Amazon kits and thought I was going to be an amazing professional photographer. Didn't know anything about white balance, skin tones, nothing like that. I had to learn all of that. Wrapping and then this watermelon style to really bad things going on there. And then this was the bucket pose I was talking about. The bucket, it's not really a bucket pose. Because she's in a bucket, but it's overstuffed and I couldn't get the right angle because of it being overstuffed and her hands aren't right and all of that. Lighting's all wrong. So, and then here is now. So whoever was asking about the bucket earlier, you want to be able to get up higher than the bucket to take this picture. So you want to be able to look down into the baby's face. If you look, you can tell that the bucket is kind of distorted, and that's my goal. I want the bucket to look smaller. So I tilt my camera in a way that the baby's head comes in toward the camera and the bucket gets smaller. So when I'm posing, I want that baby's chin up and the butt down.
Thank you.
I
That's
had to
helpful.
learn all that. Okay, so for getting started, there's a lot. Is this like bar showing up to you guys too? This Zoom bar, or is that just me? I don't know if
It
you
should just
guys
be you. I think it's just you.
Okay. I think though it records on the recording. That's what's a pain in the butt. All right. There's so much to do. Where do I start? So there are 4 steps, and then each of these have a slide for them. And then on each slide, you can stop me and we will talk about the specifics of it because there's a lot. So step 1 is legally launching your business. And I'll talk more about that. I was getting ready to dive into it, but that's the next slide. Step 2, building your solid portfolio. Step 3 is your SEO and your converting website. And then step 4 would be boundary setting, marketing, and then profitable pricing. So let's dive in, and as questions come up, please don't be shy. There's another bucket for you. Okay, so legally launching your business. You're going to check your state's government page for a breakdown of the steps you need to take. This was so helpful for me. In Ohio, when I was launching my business, I knew nothing. I don't have a business degree. I have an education degree. So when I went there, it was so friendly. It was like step 1, do this. Step 2, get your EIN at this link. And it walked you through every step you need to take to get legal in your state. Pay this $25 check, send it to this state department. And it went through everything. Register your business name here. So I bet every state has that same kind of thing. If they don't, then you can call them and just ask them, what all do I need to do to get a legal business in the state? So you're going to register as a legal business. It's usually pretty cheap. I think mine was $25 to register my trade name. And there's a website you can check your state for who's registered as a business. And then your name will go into that database. Hire a CPA and get their advice on what kind of entity you should have. When I started, I was a sole proprietorship. Generally, that's where most people start because they're not making a lot of money. They don't have a ton of expenses. A lot of people start in their home, so they don't have an outside studio space. So sole prop is an easy way to start, but might not be the best. Depends. So my CPA kept me as a sole prop for a couple years, and then we switched it when I got to a certain price point in a certain tax bracket. There is a new charge for your EIN when you switch. So you might want to think about that too. It is just a little bit of extra work when you switch from a sole prop to an LLC. I'm actually a C Corp or an S Corp, I forget. But I had to get a whole new EIN when I upgraded. But just ask your CPA for advice on that. My CPA has saved me a ton of money and headache. So just get someone professional to help you with that. So you're going to apply for that EIN. Your EIN is like your social security number, but for your business. But before you do that, you need to know what kind of entity you're going to be first. So you're going to ask your CPA what you should do. And then when you registered your for federal, your EIN is connected to that kind of entity. And then sign up for a good customer relationship management system. In groups, you might see them called CRMs. Just to name a few, Pixella is a great one. I use Dubsado because back when I started, that was all the rage, and it's great, but also now there's so many more options. So you may want to consider which one to take. And I have lessons on all of that in coaching. There are lessons on each of those, so you can make an informed decision. So there's Pixella, Dubsado, Sprout, HoneyBook, but I think a lot of people have been leaving HoneyBook. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. So what it's going to do, it's going to give you a place where you can do things like contracts, invoices, bookings, that kind of thing. What you don't want to get stuck in, because I did this too, is looking for one that does everything, like galleries and good products and your contracts, because chances are you're going to be disappointed in one of those aspects. So I think Sprout is the closest one to have everything, and it's really pretty on the customer side. So I use Dubsado for like that kind of thing, invoices, expenses. And then I use Pixieset for my gallery hosting. And then my website is through Showit. You're not going to be able to do all of those things on one platform. Like Showit is amazing for SEO. Showit's very user-friendly on the back end. Like I can edit my own website very easily and it ranks good on Google. Pixieset does not rank good on Google. So even though Pixieset's great for galleries, it's not great for websites. So that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. All right, so here's some questions. Yes, the recording, I will post the recording, no problem. All right, there is a free organization, NFP, that is specific to helping small business and more specifically, women-owned small business. Awesome, get started. It's called the SCORE Group. Ours is located in the Better Business Bureau office, but they may not be in every state, but easy to find, and they assist in all legal aspects of opening business. Thank you, Denai, that's awesome. So you guys can look for the SCORE Group. Unfortunately, I need to drop, but this was super helpful. Good. Please share the recording. I will do that. My CRM, I use Dubsado, and I can drop that link later if you want. So when I was creating my coursework, I wanted my students to be informed about all of them because that's something I didn't have. There were only a couple back when I started, and I tried Dubsado. I'm like, well, this will work. And I signed up. And now there are so many contracts and forms that I have created. It would take me a month to move that all over. I actually am a lifetime member with Pixello, but it's just going to take me a while to get everything moved over. So Dubsado is great. I've had really good customer service with them. And I can do almost everything I need. I can set up like my mini sessions through them, contracts, invoices, forms. You can do questionnaires through them, tracks your expenses, and your income, that kind of thing. So I'll drop the name. Dubsado is one, but in the course, I have interviews with people from each of those so that you can kind of see what it looks like on the back end. So I show you Dubsado. I've got somebody else showing you Sprout. Jane talks about Pixello, so that you can kind of watch all those before you pay a subscription and get 5 years in and then realize you wish you would have went with a different one. Not saying I wish that. I love Dubsado, but had I known more, who knows, right? So there's videos for each of those so you can be well informed. All right, so Dubsado, Sprout, Pixello. There's HoneyBook, but like I said, I know a lot of people have been upset with HoneyBook recently. So there's just a few to get you started. All right, so there's the end of that slide. Any questions with that? You can unmute yourself and ask or drop it in the chat. Anything at all? If not, I will go on to the next one. Do you know why they're leaving? Oh, 17 hats. Yes, thank you, Diane. I know HoneyBook, I think they were just having a lot of glitches and then they couldn't get the support they needed to get it fixed. I think I saw a lot of posts about it a while ago. And then since then, I haven't seen people recommending it, but I know some people still love it. So again, just get an informed decision. Like if I were you, I would do a trial with each of them and then really spend several days with them, like playing around and figure out which one you like. Yeah, 17 hats is another one. There's a lot of them. And if you just, in your like newborn or any of the photography groups, if you just keyword search CRM, you're going to get a ton of responses. All right, well, if there are no more questions about that, I will move on. So we're in a new color heading now, which tells me it's step 2. So step 2, build a solid portfolio. I can't hear her. Can everyone else hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so she'll have to watch the recording, I guess. All right, this is where I feel like a lot of people get the steps wrong. So they will say they're going to be a newborn photographer what props do I need? What outfits do I need? What fabric do I need? And they just go and spend all this money and then they don't know how to use them properly. So it's an expensive business to be a part of, and you need to tread carefully when you're getting started. You only need a few things to get started, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But you need to build up your portfolio before you invest in like every prop that's out there. This is probably the biggest one, because what's going to happen is you have all these amazing props, but then you have a website with pictures that are just subpar and people aren't going to book you. And so you spend all this money and now you can't even like get your investment back. So that thinking's backwards. You do need to spend money to make money, but I want you to spend money on things like lighting and your camera, and training. And then later, as you start to get more clients, you can start to add to all your prop collection, because it is an addiction, let me tell you. So I'm on a buying freeze right now. All right, so invest in good equipment and education before you do props. You're going to need a couple props, but you don't need every prop. Training is what's going to propel your business forward much faster than DIYing it. I can't tell you how many people I speak to on a regular basis, and they're trying to DIY it. They're going to like YouTube University, if you will, and it's just not working for them. It's a very slow process. You can do it. You definitely can, but it's a slow process. So if you want to like propel yourself forward immediately, then you need to get properly trained. And for safety reasons of the baby, you need to go to somebody who can train you on things to look for, like in the bucket. Well, you know, you're looking for circulation, signs for, you know, if they're overheating, or safety for spotting. You need to go to somebody who can train you properly. And then also your work's going to look so much better and you'll be able to get clients right away. Oops, there I go. Okay. Lighting makes all the difference. So when I get new students in my coaching program, first thing we tackle is lighting, because usually that's the biggest hurdle. Is like, I look at their images and I'm like, this is a lighting issue. So invest in good light, and I'll talk about that some more in a minute. I just had 2 students. They're well into the program now. Their work's amazing. But like the first week, that's what we did. We ordered the light, the PLM. I helped them virtually get it set up. They did their model calls, and we adjusted it, and they figured out how to use the light properly to light babies. Angles. So you got to learn about your angles. I can pull up some examples if you want on that. There are certain angles that are more flattering for babies, so you need to know about that. And then developing a workflow. I don't remember who said it, but talking about trying to get too much done in a model call or like in a session, you need to create a workflow so that you have an order that you go in every time, but you don't have to do every pose within that order. So you can, let's say there's 7 poses in your workflow on the table. You don't have to do all 7 poses, but you should go in the same order. So maybe you're going to do poses 1, 2, 5, and 7. Or you might want to do poses 3 to 7 or 2 to 6, something like that. So you do need a flow though, so that you can just move through those, get efficient. You know how to move the posers, you know how to move the baby. That's going to just create consistent results. And then your workflow within a session too. So are we going to do table flow first, or are we going to do props and wraps and family first? So having kind of an order that you go in, you need to develop your workflow for that. And then master consistency. So are you consistently lighting and editing? When I look at your portfolio, anybody being beauty and then light and airy? Am I seeing orange skin and then like lighter skin? Like when you're editing, our baby's pink and then they're like warm. Like it needs to be consistent. Are your blues really blue? And then, you know, the next picture you've taken greens and blues out. Like consistency is key, because when clients come to your website and they see inconsistent results, they're not going to know what they are going to get, and they don't trust you. They don't get that trust feeling of like, I'm not sure. And so then they'll move on to the next person. What you want to do is wow them from picture to picture that they click through, that it's consistent and wow every time they click through it. So you put your best of your best up there and it's consistent. Okay. So that's the end of that slide. Any questions about training, angles, lighting, workflow, consistency? You can unmute yourself if I can't find the muted option anyway. I see the subtitles. Maybe try to log out and back on and see if, because it wouldn't be a muted thing, it would be a volume thing. So your speakers might be down. Try logging back on. Make sure speakers are on. Okay. No questions about that? I will move on. The reason I put this picture here is because this is a good example of an angle. The workshop I just taught, Christina is going to send me her pictures because we did this exact pose. She was too far to the right on the first one. And I said, move an inch to your left. And the difference was huge. So where you're standing, how you're tilting, how your camera's looking down at the baby, it all matters. So angles are really important. If you notice on this picture here, the baby's butt is to the back, more so in camera than in person. It's a lot of this is like an illusion. So the way I tilted my camera, where I positioned myself to get that right angle. Okay, we're gonna move on. All right, so practice before charging. So we kind of hit on this a little bit, that model calls are for you. They're not for these potential clients. And then you need to have a plan before you practice your sessions. So why are you doing this model call? What 3 poses or wraps in this case are you wanting to master during this model call? Let's say the baby's really good and you're able to practice the sideline pose and it goes well. Okay, now I'm going to try bum up. It goes well. Now I'm going to try wrap and it goes well. Well, shoot, there are the 3 things I wanted to master today. Great, change out the backdrop, put a different outfit on, try those 3 again. So then you've already got, those are 6 sets, but then you can get different angles within each of those. You've got at least 10 pictures for them to choose their 4 or 5 from. So don't just try to like hodgepodge it, actually have a plan. When in my coaching, I help my students plan what poses they're going to do with their model call. They come back to me, they show me their pictures. I tell them what to tweak. They go to the next model call, they do that same pose again until it's mastered. And then we move on. And that's how you build your portfolio. That's how you build your workflow and how you become a master at posing. It's not by trying a different pose at every model call. It's by mastering a few poses at a time until you feel confident enough to add on to that workflow. Ask family and friends. So a lot of people have trouble getting models in. If you're posting on social media and you don't have an image of a baby, you're probably not going to get very good luck with getting models in. If you don't have, so for those of you posting on social media for a model call, first of all, we talk about this in the course. I recommend not calling it a model call because some people might be confused by that. They might think they have to have a model, like their baby's going to be a model. They might think they are getting paid. It just gets confusing. So if you just call it a free session or portfolio building session, something like that, but you do need a picture of your work, not someone else's work, your work. Hopefully a baby that you can put up, you'll have more luck getting people to respond that way. But if you don't have luck with Facebook, ask your family and friends. The way I got started, one of my friends from high school was having a baby. She had the baby. I said, hey, I've been wanting to try newborn photography. I've been studying up. I've taken some classes. Do you mind if I try my first one with your baby? And she was totally cool with it. And that was because she trusted me as a person. I knew them, right? And then I was able to use those pictures to put out more model calls. So just ask your family and friends. And because even if they aren't pregnant, they probably know someone who is. So friends of friends, there are people out there who will take a free session. So take a safety course before practicing. I do teach safety. I have a whole lesson on it. I show how my assistant is very crucial in that role. She's my spotter. She's my safety like master. We are all a little bit klutzy. I'm a little bit more klutzy. than some. I always have bruises on my thighs and hips from running into things. That's kind of me. I am a little more careful at a newborn session, but she knows this about me. And so she's always protecting the baby. So if I'm moving a light, even though I'm nowhere near them, potential for tripping and falling is there. She is covering the baby for safety. Whatever I'm doing, she's like right there, keeping the baby safe. She's spotting the baby in between pictures. So like in bucket pose, you probably see this when I go live. I take the picture as soon as I check my camera, her hand's back on the baby. So safety is huge. You have to know which poses need spotters, what to look for as far as circulation and breathing, and then signs for like temperature and things like that. So I do teach that, but also there's some free ones. I know Kelly Brown has a free one on YouTube. So just make sure that you're learning about the safety and what to look for, but then I highly encourage you to get trained by somebody who can talk you through why and like with each pose, what to look for safety. So yeah, sharing your local mom groups. Again, I kind of talked about that. Make sure you use your own photos and you have examples. One of my students was really struggling to get a model in there. And it was because she didn't have any baby examples to show. She had a model all lined up, ready to go. And then they found out that she had never done it before, even though she'd been a photographer for a while. And she had some older babies and they pulled out because they were uncomfortable with it. So she really struggled with that. We finally got her a baby. And as soon as she got that baby, she was able to put out more model calls and then people trusted her more. So it will pick up once you at least get one example photo. Charging will come after a solid portfolio, and don't start cheap. Do not start cheap. So you need to start appropriately. Yes, you're going to give yourself a raise after time. That's, when I started, I was undercharging like many people, but when I became profitable, I've inched my way up from there. And because I'm giving myself a raise and I'm valuing my worth and my time and I'm, better at it now. But when you start out, you still need to be making a livable income. And that comes from running your numbers and thinking about your expenses and your time, how much you can reasonably do. What you don't want to do is start off charging like $150. Okay, that's not working. Let's charge $200. Okay, that's not working. 3 months later, let's charge $350. And you're slowly inching your way up by $50 increments. In the meantime, you've wasted a whole year and you've actually lost income because I know you're buying props and outfits and stuff, and equipment. So you've actually like been paying them to do this. So don't start cheap. What I recommend you do, you run your numbers, you think of your goal salary so that you know how much you have to charge. When you launch your business, you do like a promotional rate or a promotional bonus so that when you do say, here are my prices, my set prices, it's not a shock. You could say, here's what my prices are going to be, but for the month of July, I'm doing this bonus. I'm giving you 10 extra digitals, or I'm throwing in 5x7s for anybody, like you give bonuses, but your pricing is still a profitable rate. And please don't post in a group saying, what are my pictures worth? Doesn't matter. There is a formula to it. And also don't ask, where do you think I should start? Don't just like randomly pick a number out of thin air. You actually have to sit down with, if you don't know how to do it, that's what a coach is there for. I'm actually doing that with a brand new student tomorrow. During our coaching call, that's what we're figuring out. What should she be charging? Okay, I could go on forever about that. Any questions about model cost, safety, or pricing? Or I guess it's not even about pricing, really. Solid portfolio pricing, anything? No. What is the correct verbiage to do a model call in client's home? So you would do, that's a lifestyle session. They may not know it's called a lifestyle session. So we get hung up on these terms in the industry. We know what they mean, but potential clients don't know. So I would say free in-home newborn session, and then put must agree to like model release, allowing me to use the photos for my portfolio or portfolio building purpose, something like that. But I would call it a free in-home newborn session. And then you state what they're going to get from that, whether that's 5 pictures or whatever that is. I do have templates in coaching for that as well. You can just plug in your updated date and drop your picture in. So I've got templates for model calls in there. Any other questions? Okay, let's see what color the next tab is. Yep, we're still on step 2 here. I know this is the longest one. Okay, where to start with posing? I kind of hit on this. So you're going to start with simple poses that babies like. I always recommend bum up. You're going to master one pose at a time as you build up your portfolio. We talked about that. The reason I like bum up, several things. They usually like it. They like being on their tummy and curled up. Number 2 is it's a fairly safe pose. So there's no flopping out of it. If you're trying sideline, for example, they fling their hands out. If you're trying bucket, they can tip out and it's a safety thing. They can flop their head. Once they're in bum up, they're kind of in bum up. There's not too much there that could really go wrong. It's a safe one to try. There are things you need to look for circulation and like positioning of the shoulders and knees and that kind of thing, but it's a fairly safe one to practice on. And then once you get them in that general pose, you can see right here at the green pants, then you can tweak it like what Rita and I were talking about. If their head's tilted back too far, you can kind of play with that and manipulate the baby to get their head and the chin down and the head where it should be. You can try to curl them up more and get the toes peeking out. Like it's a good time to just kind of play around and see if you can perfect the pose. So I always recommend bum up first is one to master. Then you want to master the basic swaddle. Basic swaddle is one that's just like you see here in the picture. The baby's just swaddled up, nothing fancy. Toes aren't out. There's no bows or knots or twists or anything like that. There's no two-tone. It's just one swaddle. You need to master that. You don't need, I'll talk about that in a minute. If you can master the basic swaddle, then you can work on putting colors over top of that. I do not use any of the tools. I know they have the Swaddle Pros and all of those belts and things like that. I prefer to just wrap my baby on my own so I can place appendages where they need to be. So like if you look here in the picture, her hands are nice and warm colored. They're down. Shoulders are not up. Elbows are not up. What happens when the shoulders get up and the elbows get up is their circulation starts to get in question because their wrists are bent. And then what you're doing is they're all scrunched up and you're swaddling them tight. And then their circulation is getting cut off and their fingers start to turn blue. Same with the legs. If I use one of those like sacks that just cinches them all up, I don't know where their knees are or their feet. And I can't see if they're getting cut off. But if I am swaddling myself, I am doing it with intention. I can put the knees and the feet where I want them to go, and I know they're going to stay there. So that's why I prefer to just master the swaddle without any of the tools. So you don't need all the newest props and outfits. Just get some good neutrals to start. I use this picture because there's a lot of neutrals here. You can use the same basket and same fabric for boys, girls. You just put a different wrap on, maybe a blue, or take the flowers out and take the headband off and just keep it neutral for a boy. Like you don't need a ton. So just start with some neutrals. Even if you want to just stick with that and don't get a bunch of colors, that can be your style. That's fine. I know here who I train to do white sessions, and that's her business model. So you don't have to then go buy everything. Just think about what you want to do. And if you don't have something that they want, just say you don't offer that. Okay, anything about starting with posing? Those of you wondering, this on the bottom, it's called Crystal's Cage. I love this one because you can use it for as a bucket or above or on the side. You can flip it over and a sitter can sit on it. There's lots of things you can do for that. Oh, why is it? Don't want a direct message. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Nobody has anything. Are people still here? I feel like I'm just rambling and I want this to be helpful for you. Questions about equipment, we talked about it. DSLR, I use 24 to 70. You can use a 35. I don't really like the compression that the 35 gives. Strobe, I use my Einstein for the table. I love the look of the Einstein, but it does plug in. So I use my Godox 8400 for the rest of the session. All the props, all the wraps, family, maternity, cake smash, everything else, because it's cordless and I don't have to worry about tripping on a cord. And we already established I'm klutzy. So cords, I prefer not to have to wheel around or like move around. Trigger and receiver for your light. I love my Pocket Wizards, but unfortunately you can't buy them anymore. But CyberSync is one. If you just go to Paul C. Buff, their customer service is amazing. They can hook you up with the right one. Godox comes with their own trigger or trigger. I love Pocket Wizard though, because they're interchangeable. So you don't need a separate trigger and receiver. You can put them on each end and it works. Oh yes, Paul Buff now has a Celestial. I have now upgraded. Yeah, it would be like the cordless version of the Einstein. But I don't need to because my table is kept in the corner by an outlet. So nobody's walking. So that's just a waste of money for me right now to upgrade that light. But if you're just getting started, then yes, definitely get the cordless version. Anything, stand with a white umbrella. I use a black reflective cover and then a front diffuser fabric. I use 2 diffuser fabrics on the front. I have tried the same setup with the PLM and not the black cover. I have tried shoot through like Anna Brandt does. I don't like any of it. I prefer bouncing my light in the PLM with the black cover on the back. Posing table, if anybody needs a posing table, I can drop you the link that I got from Amazon. Just make sure it's a safe one. And actually, I don't want to put vendors down, so I'm not going to name any specifics. Some of the newborn specific tables are not as sturdy as a good old fashioned table that can lock in place. And I may know someone who's coming up with the perfect invention for us all. I will let you know when it's on the market. But just make sure that you get a safe locking table, one that the legs lock in place. And that's hard with really strong legs. I've even seen people use a wooden, like solid wood dining room table. That's not going anywhere. So whatever table you pick, don't get those cheap, like flimsy poles for the table legs and stuff. Get something strong. I just got a round one from Amazon. It locks in place. It also folds in half. So if I need to take it with me, I can. Yeah, you can use a dog bed. I hate my dog bed for posing. I like my dog bed for above shots, like tucked in, swing, hammock. I hate the dog bed for poses like bum up, side laying, froggy, all that. It sinks in the middle a little bit for me. Yep, posing is super hard on it. Yes, you're right. So get a table. Trust me. When we switched from beanbag to table, my assistant loved me. She's like, this is so much easier to spot because she could put her arm down on the table and support herself while spotting. Whereas with the beanbag, if she puts her arm on it, it's going to squish the whole thing and the baby's going to roll toward her. So the table's just so much more. We talked about consistency. If you have a hard surface under there, you're going to get consistent results. And then you just layer it with foam and blankets. Posing blocks. I use shapeshifters. They're definitely worth the investment for sure. They are firm, so they're like a yoga block. So they're firm, but if you put it under enough layers, you're not going to get that lumpy look, but you will get consistent results. Whereas with like squishy beans, sometimes the babies kind of sink into those too much and it's harder to be consistent. It was a learning curve though. When I first tried them, the shapeshifters, a photographer friend of mine brought them with her to one of my sessions, tried them and hated it. And then I gave it another shot later and I figured out how to use them properly, and now I love them. Photo 1 to 7 you talked about earlier. Oh, you want me to show you my workflow? Yeah, I can show you my workflow. And if you watch the videos, like my live videos, you can kind of see my workflow that I go through. And I do give my workflow guides out. If you come to my workshops, you get the cards, and then I have all of them in the coaching program as well. And if you haven't, sign up for the workflow guide, the free guide that has some tips as well. If you don't have my workflow guide, it's on my website under the education tab, and you can sign up for it there. But yeah, I can kind of show you a general order that I go in. Okay, any questions with that? Posing blocks, anything with equipment? I like my 7-foot PLM. I prefer Paul Buff for that versus Godox. Godox is deeper and it tends to tilt more. And if you need a light stand, I did find one that I love for that. It's on wheels. South Africa, what time is it there? Did you say noon? What did someone answer? What time is it in South Africa? Okay, no other questions? Go on. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. I was trying to change the chat and I changed the slide. 9 hours, 20 minutes PM. Oh, it's PM there. Okay. I have no idea how many hours difference it is. What is the light stand you love? I'll grab the link for you. Oh, April, thank you. April says, I can tell you the mentoring is wonderful and you get so much. Best money I've spent to grow my skill and business. I also highly recommend attending a workshop. It is the most hands-on workshop I've ever attended. Yay. So April's in both. She's in my coaching program and she came to my workshop last week. 12:45 a.m. in India. You're committed. Well, those are my hours. I stay up late usually. Let me, I don't know if I can minimize. I'm going to write a note so that I can grab the light link for you and drop it in the chat after this. Because if I go find it now, I'll lose my PowerPoint. Light link. Okay, I promise I'll do that though. All right, next one. More on equipment. So must-have equipment. So here's that same prop I was telling you about. So you can use it from above, you can use it from the side. It's Crystal's cage. Oh, another one. Oh, 9:20. Thank you for Googling that. 9:20 p.m. Okay. Denia, I could not agree with April anymore. I take continued ed every year just because I believe we should. And this was literally the best workshop I've attended. That's so great to hear. Thank you. Being hands-on, Babe was amazing and very few do this. Stacy has been amazing before, during, and since the workshop. So glad to hear that. And I will hit on that more. I don't want this to just be like a pitch to you guys. So at the end of this, I'll talk about how I try to make things more hands-on and beneficial for you. Okay, a few things you need. Two-way stretch fabric. Look for jersey knit at the fabric store. I agree. Also, thank you, Diane. Worked with the Diane a few times. Wood floor mat, you'll see in the picture here. And then you can use that again from above or the side like we have here. So this transition was really easy. This is that same baby who I took from above with the flowers and the headband. And then we just spun her, took out the floral stuff and added brother. So that just some basic props you can do a lot with. Get a good neutral basket or bucket. My favorite bucket was $10 and it was on a roadside antique sale. These people have antiques in their garage and then they just like pull it all out into like on the sidewalk every now and then and sell them off. And it was a $10 bucket and it's my favorite. It's wood. It was missing the handle, which I loved. So then I didn't have to worry about the handle. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, but just have some good neutrals that you can have as your go-to. Shusher. I prefer the Shusher app. You can get the baby Shusher that spins. Couple things to remember about that though. It doesn't get as loud as the app. the speaker is on the bottom. So if you set it down, it's going to be muffled and it turns off after 30 minutes. So you have to reset it. The Shusher app, you can crank the volume. You can hide your phone with it on under the fabric. You can put your phone in buckets while it's playing, and you can set it to like 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever you want. I set mine for 3 hours. So if it kicks off, I know I'm way over and it's time to end the session. But I like that I don't have to reset it. Or if like I forget, like what would happen with me if I had, because I did have the Shusher tool for a while. I got rid of it because I didn't like it, but it would kick off and I wouldn't notice. I'm like, oh yeah, turn the Shusher back on, or it's, you know, hanging over there. I like my phone better. Jessica said, I loved your hands-on workshop. It was the best thing I ever did for my business. I plan to take another. Yay, I would love to see you again. I gotta tell you guys, every workshop has the best group of people. Jessica, you were in such a fun group, and then Denia and April were another group we just had. Like every group has just worked so well together and been really fun. That's why I love to travel around to different studios. Space heater, we talked about that. I have a really tall, like skinny space heater that I stole from my husband's office, and then I had to get him a new one for his birthday. Like, yeah, taking this, honey, because it's the perfect size. And then I put it up on a crate so that it's aiming at the baby the whole time. Just make sure that you're checking. This is where my assistant comes in handy, because her hand is always between the space heater and the baby. And if her hand's too hot, then she knows she has to turn it down. So she's kind of a like checker. If you don't have an assistant, just make sure you're often putting your hand there and that the baby's not getting overheated. If it is feeling too hot, back it up, crank it down. But where I have mine, it's several feet away and it's kind of aiming down, not like directly on the butt so much. So I never have the problem of the baby getting too hot, but if it's too close, you do have to worry about that. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, space heater accessories, you don't need a ton. Start with neutrals, just get a few good headbands and hats. Pro tip, that jersey knit fabric that you're getting from the fabric store, you need 2 yards for your table. I always get 3 yards or 2.5, depending. I get 3 yards because I cut off 12 inches. So I have a wrap, and that's what she's wearing here. So I cut off a wrap. Then I use another 12 inches to make things like a hat, a pillowcase, and usually a pair of pants out of. If I don't feel like making pants, or I don't think it's a good color for pants, then I'll just get 2.5 yards and I'll just do the hat and pillowcase. On YouTube, if you look up, I think it's Ebenezer Scrooge Sleepy Cap, there's somebody who can show you how to sew it like that style of a hat. It's really easy. So when you're getting your accessories, you can use your jersey knit for a lot of this. And then you can even cut off a little strip as the headband and then just glue some flowers on it. So try to like be conscientious of what you're spending and just do some neutrals and like make really good use of what you have. What is the amount of fabric you tend to buy? Just answered that. You need about 2 yards for the table, but I like to have extra for like things I just mentioned. And then it's also good to have like extra pieces of fabric for like putting in buckets and layers and things like that. Can you put the sewing link here, please? Let me, if I can find it. YouTube. If I can't find it, then I will just record a quick video, guys. It is so simple to do. So a newborn baby's head, I think, ranges from like 10 to 15, with the average being 14 inches around. So I will make my hat, I think like 12 inches, and then I make sure it stretches to like 16. So I just kind of like test it, and then that's the perimeter going around. So I make it like 12 inches, stretches, and kind of sew up. It's really easy to do. You just have to have stretchy fabric so that you can stretch it on their head. If I can't find the link, I'll do a recording for you. Do you ever make your own headbands? Yes, I do. Tutorial for headbands? No, I don't have one. That's a good one too, though. But actually, that's one of the things I have. Once I find the day that we're gonna all get together in Columbus, we might do a crafting time. So if you can't make it to the day of fun for photographers, maybe I can just kind of like patch you guys in through Zoom and you can kind of watch and join us that way. But we plan on making things like headbands. But what I did, headband video. If you have a Hobby Lobby, not in the floral section, but a couple aisles over where they have like the fake fruit and like the wedding stuff, you can find little tiny bunches of flowers. Get those and you can just like hot glue those onto your headband. Just like make a strip. So it's going to be a tie back more than a headband, but you can also get headbands off of like Amazon, the stretchy kind. Just be careful with those because sometimes they are too tight on babies' heads. They leave a pretty good mark and they shouldn't be. So I would, if I were you, I would do the tie backs instead, or just make it super loose, stretchy, and then you can always clip it at the session to make it fit better. But yeah, I just glued my own like flowers on there, and at Christmas time, little pine cones and berries, that kind of thing. Yeah, make your own tie backs. I don't have a date yet, Jessica. I need, I know there was like a Powell, which is in Columbus. There's like a festival of music coming up. I thought about doing it next Friday. Don't know if that's going to happen, but I also found an Italian restaurant near here. They have a patio and they have music 6 days a week and it starts at 6 p.m. instead of waiting till like 8 or 10 o'clock p.m. So I thought that would work better for people if we wanted to do like a day of crafting and then hit a few antique shops, then go to the Italian restaurant, eat some pizza and listen to live music. That would be like a perfect day for me. So this would not be like a paid training. This would be just like, hey, let's all get together and hang out for community reasons. So I would love it if some of you could come to that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. And like I said, if you can't make it, maybe we can patch you in at least during the crafting part and you can kind of just hang out with us. Oh yeah, that would be so awesome, April. Okay, any questions with equipment? Let me see if, yeah, we're moving on to the next topic. I told you there was a lot here. Any questions before we move on? Okay. As long as I have enough time to block out the schedule, I'll be there with the hubs. Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, all right. I'm gonna put that on my list because I need to get that scheduled. Day 4. And actually my boys will be away again in July at 4-H camp. So maybe we can work around that too. All right. SEO and high converting website. When we talk about high converting, it means when people come to your website, are they then turning into leads and bookings? This is a whole huge topic. Let me see. So see, I've got one slide on it because this isn't my specialty. I've just been trained in it when I hired a coach. So you got to hire your people to learn all of this stuff. My specialty is newborn posing, but I do help with business stuff. So on Tuesdays during coaching call, we work on creative things like posing, lighting. And then on Thursdays, we do business stuff like pricing, SEO, blogging, that kind of thing. And it's, you know, everybody learn from somebody, right? So I just teach you what I have learned. So search engine optimization. When people are searching for a photographer, is your website showing up? That's basically what that means. Where are you ranking when people are looking for your service? And this is true for any service, plumbers, hairstylists. Where are they ranking? That's SEO. So you need to learn SEO. There's things like the title of your website, like your header title, and then all your headers under that. So you've got one main title and then you have headers. Those are your H1 and H2 tags. What are those tags and what should they be? You need to do your SEO research to know what keywords you should be ranking for. If I were to try to rank for Lewis Center newborn photographer, that's where I live, but it's right next to Columbus. My studio is 8 minutes from me and it's in Columbus. So it's like super close, right down the road. I'm in this little pocket of like where a bunch of towns kind of meet. So I try to rank for Columbus because according to my SEO research, it would be silly to try to rank for the Lewis Center one. So that's what we mean by the research end. So people need to find you before they inquire. Did I spell inquire right? I think I did. If they can't find you, then they're never going to reach out to you. So you have to be able to show up on Google when they're searching for your service. I'll need to step out now. I'll check the rest through the recording. Okay, perfect. Once they are on your website then, so let's say you're ranking. Now, once, you know, they search for you, you pop up. Let's say they reach out to the first 5 photographers that pop up on Google. Once they get to your website, are those leads then converting into paying clients? So it's the messaging, it's the portfolio, it's the design of the website. All of these things are really important. So when we think about getting started with newborn photography, the order that you're going to do things, right? You've got to launch your business. You've got to build your portfolio. Now that you have your solid portfolio and good work to show, you're going to put that good work onto a website. And that way, when they get to your website, they're wowed by your images and then they will pay you for your service. If you do that in reverse, they're going to get to your website and they're going to see your photos next to those other 4 people they inquired about, and they're probably going to go somebody else if yours doesn't match up with the quality. That's why I say you got to get your portfolio solid first. Any questions on this? This is a whole topic on its own. This
So
would take a whole day. Go
Right.
ahead.
I do have a question because I am probably in a little unique position. And as you know, I'm a beginner. But I have the opportunity. I have a friend that owns a 3D imaging. So all of the clients
Awesome.
are already coming in when they're pregnant. And so I pretty much already have like the clientele, you know, all of her patients that are coming in for that, and they're getting their maternity pictures taken with me. And then they want their newborns as well. I mean,
Awesome.
would it be bad per se? Because as you know, I've already done 2 photo shoots with babies. Would it be bad to at least charge them like a little bit, even though I'm still learning, like just say like $50 or like even like $100, you know, instead
So-
of doing those free model calls? Because like I'm already
Gotcha.
getting them to come in. I mean,
So my theory on that, and this is what my current students are doing. Some of them are model calls, some of them are paying clients.
Mhm.
For them, I kind of told them when they were ready to charge. I would have to see more of your work to know for sure. But if they are reaching out to you and booking you, then I would say you would charge them your regular rate. If you don't think that you're there yet,
right.
then
Yeah,
I would
don't feel like
just
my rate matches the quality of pictures
yeah. So I wouldn't do something
could
like
say?
$50 because what you're doing is you're devaluing yourself for future purposes. Instead,
Right.
maybe make it a free session and they can buy each picture for $50.
Okay.
So then that way you're not devaluing yourself, but
Mhm.
also you have the potential to, you can say, you know, you don't have to buy any of them, but I want to give, the session is free. And then if you like the pictures, you can buy them. That's how I would do it.
Okay.
Versus saying like, yeah, it's only $50 because that's immediately devaluing yourself and your brand and your messaging. Your first step in your business is now one of like, I'm not worthy. Does that make sense?
Right. I'm like that cheap
so-
photographer.
Yes. And you don't want to become known as that person because what they're going to do is then tell all their friends, oh, I went to this really cheap photographer, and you become known as the cheap photographer instead of the good photographer.
Mhm.
Whereas, and even if it's
Right.
the same thing, let's say you charge them $50 and you become known as a cheap photographer, or you do a free session to build your portfolio and they buy one picture for $50. They've spent the same amount, but the messaging to their friends is different. Now their messaging is, yeah, the pictures were so good, I couldn't not buy any. So it's a whole different like message to their friends. Like now it becomes she's worth it to buy pictures, not she's cheap, go to her. See what I'm
Gotcha.
saying?
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
adjectives matter. And if you want to, I know I looked at your pictures the other day, but I'm forgetting like the specifics of them. So
Yeah.
I will, let me see. if you, you know what, can you just private message me either a link to those or just
Yeah.
tag me in the, because I know we talked about it briefly, just so I can look at them one more time.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so Jessica, you have a question. Let me read this, what Denai says. Every time you raise your prices, you get to start over. And that is hard. This is true. And takes a lot of time to start over. Every raise causes you to be without appointments for a month. Yeah, so exactly. If you start out at $50, you're quickly gonna be burnout and realize you need to charge more. So then you're gonna raise it again. And you're gonna have to get all new clients because now those $50 clients aren't yours anymore. You're gonna have to start all over. And then those are gonna be too cheap and you're gonna have to start all over again. And it's hard to find new clients at each price bracket, even if it's from $50 to $75. Every price bracket, you're gonna hear the same thing from people. And so you need to find like those new clients who are gonna pay that. So it's better, like I said, to just start off high and then, give them perks instead.
Yeah, do like promotions and stuff. Cause
Yeah,
like my
exactly.
first newborn session, like I just pulled this out of a hat number. I just said 250.
Mhm.
And of course I've never done before, so I was completely winging it, everything. And I mean, and she was fine with all of the pictures and everything like that. But me realizing, even then, like the session took 2 hours and just the amount of editing, I'm like, well, no wonder these newborn photographers charge huge
Yeah.
amounts of money because of the amount of time that you're actually taking.
Exactly. And really, once you, really of that number, you're only taking about 30% of it because
Right.
you should be paying for insurance, and all the business license stuff and your website. I mean, I just had to pay again last night for Keywords Everywhere. I forgot about that charge. So there's all these extra charges. And when it's said and done at the end of the year, you're only taking in about 30% of what you charge them. And so you said you charge what, $250?
Yes.
So that's $75, and then you figure out all the hours that you just put into it, right? And that's not just the session, that's communicating with them, that's editing, it's the whole thing. So yeah, you're already learning that that's not gonna work. So what you need to do is actually sit down and go over your numbers and get an actual number, and that's not just out of thin air.
Right. All right.
Okay, all right, Jess, what's your question?
Okay, so can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so my question, I already am pretty known for being like a newborn photographer, but I definitely am more of a lifestyle person just in my studio.
Mhm.
And so my clients already kind of expect that out of me. But if I were to jump over, which I'm hoping to do, is jump over to the more lighted posed
Like
styles,
pose?
like like the ones you provide. Should I kind of offer that as like a different type of session or still consider it like a newborn session? Because I figure if I were to do like a model call, my clients would definitely just see it as what I already do, if that makes sense, instead of what I'm trying to do.
Yes. So what in your heart, like in a perfect world, what would you be offering? Would you be offering both or just one?
Probably, gosh, I don't even know. I really do love doing the lifestyle ones, and I feel like those are what I'm good at right now. But when I get the hang of more of like the post styles, I feel like that is what I want to do.
Okay, so then
So-
what I would, so you think that eventually you'll want to kind of lean into more of the pose.
Yeah.
So what I would do is, there's two ways you could go about it. You could just make the switch and say, I'm offering mostly pose now, but we can still incorporate one lifestyle set if you still want. So I sometimes will do lifestyle set in my newborn sessions, but I'm known as like posed and styled. Or share my website with you. Something like what the website is. And so see, I have 3 kinds of newborn sessions: classic, family, and styled, which is like themed stuff. You could just have two sections. You could have lifestyle newborn and pose newborn. So on your website, it would just be broken down into two kinds. When someone reaches out, like I've had this, I'll have somebody say, oh, we really like the classic, but we also like the styled like theme. And then I say, oh, don't worry, we have time to do both. We'll do like one theme set and then the rest classic. And you could do the same. So somebody might say, we really want most of it to be styled, but can you also throw in a couple lifestyle? Then you can do that. You would just change your order, take out a few poses so that you can do that set. But on your website, I would just have two sections. And then when you get enough of a portfolio to just switch to styled, you can just take off the lifestyle portion on your website. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
that's a really good idea.
Okay. Hope that helps.
Yes, that helps a
That's
lot.
what-
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's what I would do. There we go. All right, all the questions there? Okay, so we're on to a new color heading. That means we're into the next section. We're almost done, guys. I told you there's a lot here. All right, so once you have all of that, you've got your portfolio, your equipment, your training, your safety, you're converting clients now. Now is when it gets sticky because you're getting clients in your door and then issues arise. Like one of my students, she just had a lovely experience with the maternity session. It went great. They came back for family newborn and it was horrible. And the kids were destroying her home. The dad was yelling very mean things at the children and they were all very disrespectful. So what happened? We spent a day of coaching, lining up boundaries and setting policies. That's what happened. So I always use the analogy of McDonald's. Remember when that lady burnt her hand or whatever? And now they have to put a warning on the cup because somebody, burnt themselves on hot coffee. Now there's a warning label. Same thing with us. Your contract is a fluid document. So every time something comes up, you're like, oh, better add that to my contract. So your boundaries and your policies are always evolving. And when you want to try to think of what all's going to come up beforehand, and that's why we have a working document in coaching where we've all just kind of add our own policies and boundaries in there because maybe there's things that happen to you that I haven't thought about, but I'd like to prevent it if possible, that kind of thing. So you want to try to prevent it, but just know that you're always going to have to be adjusting your contract. So get a contract and then stick to it. I can't tell you how many times this has saved me. I'm a people pleaser by nature. I don't like confrontation. I get very awkward if somebody catches me off guard with a confrontational moment. I'm one of those people who, when I'm driving home, I'm like, oh, I should have said that. Why didn't I say that? Why didn't I stick up for myself? I can think of everything later, but not in the moment. This is where my contract comes in. The example I always give is my old studio. I had gone in an hour before to set up because I didn't have a chance to do it the day before. So let's say the session was at 10. I went in at 9. They are messaging me like 10 after 10 saying they're going to be late. They ended up getting there an hour after their time was supposed to start. So now I have been there for 2 hours. One of those hours I was just sitting waiting for them. I'm sure I was doing other stuff, but you get the point. When that 3-hour mark came, because I told, when they messaged me that they were going to be late, I said, that's fine, but we still have to end at, what would have been 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock. We have a solid end time at 1 o'clock. So when 1 o'clock came around, they wanted more sets and more poses. And I said, well, it's 1 o'clock. The rate on the contract is whatever it was per hour. And they are like, but you said it was a 3-hour session. I said, yes, from the start time. And you got here an hour late. I pulled up the contract and showed them on my phone and they shut up and they were fine the rest of the time. So they didn't pay for an extra hour and they left and we were done and no more issues. So if you're somebody like me who has a really hard time standing up for yourself, or you don't like it when people are upset with you, a contract can save you. Just have it pulled up and then you can show them. That's me. Yeah, that's me too. So value yourself. I will say it gets easier. The more it happens, the easier it gets. Value yourself and don't let others convince you to waver on your policies. If they keep trying to get you to budge, you pull that up and you just keep saying, that is not a studio policy, or that is against studio policy. Another example I have, and this one had my blood like rushing, like I was getting so worked up about it. They came in for a consultation. I don't do this too often, but usually when people want to come into the studio for consultation, those usually convert really well because they see the studio, they see the beautiful artwork, and then they book usually. Well, this person kept mentioning they wanted to pay in cash so that they didn't have to pay tax. I told them that wasn't an option. You know, I have to charge you tax because they wanted an album. So there's going to be tax. They get their proofs. They write me back. We want this package with this album. And as mentioned in person, we will be paying with cash. So you won't charge us tax. And I just kept saying the same thing over. No, that is not, that's against policy. I have to charge you tax. And they kept saying it. Finally, in all caps, I wrote back, I will not participate in tax fraud. And then they shut up. So you just value yourself and don't let others push you around. Trust me. You just gotta stick with it. And you might be worried about like a bad review or something like that. You can't. You have to value yourself and not worry about that. SEO will be your biggest return on investment. So when we talk about where to market, generally social media will get you lower paying clients and more difficult clients. If they come to you from Google, those are usually people who are, they're usually a little bit of the next generation. So you figure younger people are on social media, more mature, professional, like maybe they've waited a little bit to have kids. They're going to use Google. So they're more established. They have more money. They value small businesses. They're generally more respectful. So you're going to get a bigger return on investment by working on your SEO versus Facebook. And the other thing with it, social media, I think the average is like 7 years that a platform is around before another big one comes along. Now, Facebook has surpassed that number, but if you think about like Snapchat and TikTok and all of this, and now with TikTok maybe going away, maybe not, like things are kind of always wavering. Remember back when there was Vines and then, you know, MySpace was there for a while, like social media comes and goes, but your website is your own. You don't have to worry about someone else deciding the algorithm for you. And it'll always be there. So that's definitely the biggest return on your investment. Gotta hop off. I'll watch. Okay, perfect. Jess, thank you. I know Jess is wanting to go full time too. So I'm hoping she'll jump in coaching and we can make that happen for her. I diversify your marketing. So don't just use one. If you rely heavily on like Facebook, you're probably missing hitting some clients. And also like when social media goes down, like Facebook and Instagram has, then you're kind of screwed. If you put all your eggs in one basket, then you could be doing yourself a disservice. So you make lots of local connections. So participate in things like, I can't do it as often as I want, but we have these women in business, and I think I've only been able to go to one because they're always like at 5 o'clock, and I always have my kids at Taekwondo or something at 5 o'clock. But I do participate in their once a year like dinner that they do. I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce, so they are tagging me sometimes, and they're, you know, interacting with my social media. So make your local connections. I've had realtors buy gift certificates for their clients who bought a house and they're expecting a baby, or, you know, like, just make those local connections as well as social media in your website. You can partner with boutiques and maternity stores, get your cards in there. Maybe we had a maternity store who let me set up a table whenever I wanted. So I'd bring my artwork and I would give out like 10% off, and then my business cards and just information. They went out of business sadly, but it was a great connection when they were here. So just make some connections. Research the pricing structures around you. So I know there are educators out there who are saying like, you have to do it this way. This is the best way you're going to make money, but you kind of do have to do your research. What are people around you, like the top photographers, newborn photographers in your area? I'm not talking about everybody. The ones that are like ranking high, their work is amazing. They're number one on Google, or 1 through 4, 1 through 5, first page. How are they structuring their business? And that way you'll know what the market can bear and what you can not charge, but how you can structure it. Are most of those doing a session fee model, or are most of those doing like all-inclusive packaging? So there's two ways to look at that. You can say, well, I need to do a session fee in this ballpark. So let's say most people are doing like in-person sales, but you want to do a hybrid model. So you're going to charge a session fee like they do, but you're going to do the selling differently. What you're going to do is kind of ballpark your session fee close to theirs. Doesn't have to be exact, but you don't want to do like if they're charging a $200 session fee and I'm going to come in and charge a $500 session fee. When those people reach out or go to your website, they're going to see that big difference in number. Once they get in and they're booked, the packaging doesn't matter so much, because at that point they see your beautiful images of their baby. You're selling them on this amazing artwork or digital files. That point doesn't matter so much, because that's going to be based on what you need to charge to make a living. But that initial amount when they're going to your website kind of does have to be in the ballpark of what they're seeing, or they're going to think something's off. You don't want to go lower than them though. Never go lower. You don't want to race to the bottom. You want to say to those people, I am worth it. That's why I'm charging a little bit more. It's just like a coach purse, right? They can charge a really high premium and people expect that and they'll pay it. So just kind of research around you, but then when that's for like structuring how you're going to set it up. But then when you actually have to figure out the cost of your packages or your products, you need to know what your minimum is going to be. My minimum is they can't leave without spending $1,000 unless it's a mini 1 hour wrapped newborn, and that's $700. So you got to know that number, and don't let anybody work with you for less than that number. And that's called your cost of doing business. And there's lots of calculators out there, and we talk about this in coaching as well. Okay, now let me see if I can pull up the chat here. Where'd my chat go? There it is. Any questions with boundaries or profitable pricing? Pricing is usually a very popular topic. Anything at all? Oh my gosh, we've been on here a long time, guys. Okay, well, I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, it's open Q&A time. Woohoo! And then after open Q&A, I'll help you do your policy. I can tell you about coaching if you're interested. So I think, gosh, I did my contract so long ago, and then I had a friend of mine's husband's a lawyer. He looked over it and changed the verbiage for me so that it was legally sound. And then the policies, I just keep updating them. So like maybe I have 10 points on my contract, I'll add like an 11th point, or like 11B, 11C if things come up. So it's always adjusting, but you want to talk to a lawyer to look over it. If you need to just buy some contracts, the Law Tog is a photographer and a lawyer. Hers are good. And then if you're a member of PPA, they also have some that you can they're free for members to use. So there's lots of ways that you can do that. Any questions? The family signed before to arrive. Yeah, so that would be your contract. I use Dubsado for that. So they get a digital form, they can read over it, and then they can sign and date it, and then it comes to my email, and then I can sign it. There's also spots to initial. So like if there's a policy that you really want to make sure they read, you can put a little initial spot by it. So that's an option on Dubsado. Okay, no questions for me? Do you have the rights of the photo? So you never give out your copyright. You give out printing rights. If somebody wants the copyright, you're going to charge them like thousands and thousands. You don't give out your copyright. You give out your printing rights. They need to sign a model release or for you to post them on social media. If somebody asks that you not post, then you respect their wishes and you don't post them. That's different from model calls. Model calls, they have to agree to let you share them because that's the whole point of it. That's why they're getting them for free. So yeah, you have the rights to the photos you take. Doesn't even matter if you use someone else's camera. If you press that button, that photo belongs to you. Answers your question. Any others? And you guys can unmute if you just want to ask me something. I promise the next part's quick because I know some of you were asking about this. So I'll just real quick explain what coaching is. And there are a few people in here who are in it now, so that feel free to jump in if you want to. So here's me. So this is what it's called. It's called luxury newborn posing. It's called that because I really specialize in teaching you how to pose a baby with a luxury feel, like getting in those high-end clients. So it's an educational program for newborn photographers. There are hand-holding lessons. My videographer came in, we recorded tons of babies, many hours. He got real close in on my hands. I talked to the camera, show you exactly what I'm doing. So those lessons are professional, like video lessons. It's not just me with an iPhone. It's actually coaching you through it. We meet weekly, twice a week through Zoom coaching. This kind of just like this, face to face. I can answer any questions, help you with anything that you need. And along with like the video, there's tip guides, typed out lessons. I'm always adding more to it. There's policies, I give you my contract, my model forms, email templates. There's all kinds of stuff in there. As people ask for stuff, I add it. I just added, a watermark was one, creating a watermark. 2 of my students needed that. So I recorded a video and put it up. Always adding to it. Oh, good. April, the most thorough video lessons. I'm still trying to get through all the content. Yay. And you do get lifetime access to the content, by the way. The only thing that gets cut off is coaching with me. All right. So why was this created? So how it went was, so I was a teacher, as you know. I have a master's degree in education, and I was teaching at this point when I decided to launch my business side, or my newborn educational side. I did go down to part-time teaching so I could open my photography studio. And I went to this workshop. I had envisioned this for a long time. I'm like, I think I could one day teach newborn posing because I have an eye that can help people, even people who are better than me. I can usually like tell them something to tweak. And I've had people come to me who are better than me. And I'm like, why are you coming to me? And they're like, well, I just really need your eyes on my taco pose. So like, I think I have an eye for that and can help people see things that maybe they're not seeing. So I'd envisioned this for a while. Then I'm like Denia. I like to get training all the time. I do have to like tell these people, hey, I'm an educator. Is it okay if I come work with you? Because they don't like that. They don't like to train trainers. But I've found really great people who will let me continue my own education. I want to stay relevant too. So I attended this in-person workshop, and the whole time I didn't like that it wasn't hands-on. It was advertised as hands-on, but we didn't touch the babies. Diane says, I still go back and review the coaching lessons that I took last year. Awesome. Yeah, so she's got lifetime access to those posing videos. So this was advertised as an in-person hands-on workshop. The only hands-on we got was holding the baby in between them crying or like switching out poses. We didn't get to actually do any posing for ourselves. So the whole time I was looking at this like, man, I wish we were getting to do that. And then all we did was take pictures. And I felt that was kind of like deceiving because we're taking pictures for our portfolio, but we really didn't do any of the work. So that was one thing. And then the teacher in me was not judging, but just evaluating how this could have been a better teaching workshop. So when you're trained as a teacher, you've got like your materials, your lesson plan, your objective, you know, all that boring stuff that we hated to do, but we were trained on it. Now it's ingrained in our head. And then you demonstrate, you let the students do it on their own, and then you provide feedback and you practice it. Like there's a whole like formula for teaching somebody. And I was like, man, we're not getting any of this. There's not any direct instruction. There's no feedback practice at all. And there's very little feedback. We got a little feedback on how we were taking the picture, but not on the posing part. So I went to lunch with my friend who rode down with me, and I was like, I really think I could do this. And I think I could set it up so that it was more of like a structured learning environment. So that's how it started. I started a group and just asked local people, would you be interested in a workshop for like a really cheap price? Would anybody come? People said yes. So I launched it, and it went really, really well. They loved it. They loved getting their hands on and getting to do the posing. So I knew I was onto something. So then I was like, all right, I need to reach more people because a lot of people can't travel to Ohio, or I'm not able to travel out of Ohio very often. I only do like 3 or 4 a year out of the state just because of my own family, right? So I'm like, how can I do this virtually, make it as hands-on as possible without actually being hands-on? And that's how it was created. So to basically to reach more people and have access to me without actually being in person. Okay, so that's why I started it. So like I said, who's this for? I've had people who are very experienced take it, and I've had brand new beginners. So it's kind of for everybody. Experienced photographers who need a second set of eyes, or maybe you're stuck and you can't figure out what you're missing. Oh, and that reminds me, Rita, did you send, I'll look. We need to talk about Bum Up. I don't know if you sent me that picture yet. So maybe you're stuck on a pose, like Rita was asking, with help with Bum Up. Sometimes it's perfect, sometimes she can't get it. If you need help fixing those things, if you need help creating a workflow, we talk a lot about workflow in coaching, the order that you're going to do your poses. And then if you want to gain repeat clients and referrals, you want to wow your clients so that then they will refer you and they will come back over and over. And then if you want to branch into the luxury market, so maybe you're doing okay, maybe you're established as a photographer, you're kind of doing your newborn thing, but you want to increase your prices, you want to get higher quality clients who value you more, and you want to branch into that luxury market, then that is what this course will do. It'll help you tweak your posing so that it's presenting as a luxury service. Okay, so how does it work? When you check out, you get immediate access to the videos. So here are 2 screen grabs I got from the videos. So the bottom one, that's a very common like angle that my videographer got. You can see exactly what I'm doing. I show you how to put the posers in. I talk about what I'm looking for, where the light is. And then there are also some shots. There was more than one camera. So the top angle just kind of shows you from the side what it would look like. So there's a lot of different angles as I talk to the camera and show you how to pose. You get to watch the lessons on your own time, but I do recommend that you go in order so you can create that workflow we talked about. So the lessons are set up in my workflow, the order that it makes sense to pose the babies. You can watch them in any order. So maybe you're already good at a pose and you don't need to do that lesson. You can skip it. Or maybe you don't want to do froggy, so you skip it. You can go in any order, but it's just set up in my workflow order. But you will be expected to work with newborns, whether that's regular clients, maybe you have a client base, like Jess said, she's got her lifestyle clients, or you can run model calls, but you will be expected to, put in the work. And I mean, you're paying to get better at this. So if you don't put in the work and have babies, then you're not going to get as much out of it as you could. So the weekly calls are Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2:00. And they are recorded if you have to miss. I've had people who have a full-time job and then they have to watch the recordings after they get off work. If that is you and you can't attend every call, you can just send me your questions in advance and then I can make sure I address them. Or maybe you have a gallery you want me to look at. You can just send me the link and then during the call, I will talk about it and then you can watch it on your own time after you get off work. So that's how it works. I'll let you guys read these. I don't need to. So just some current students or past students. And these are their images, not mine. Learned so much and can't wait to keep absorbing everything. And then here's another one. And this one, she actually is even better than this taco right now. So this was like one of her early tacos after training with me, but now they're even better than this. And I think there's just one more. So this one is really fun for me because this was a first twin session for one of my students and she needed an assistant to help spot for twins. And I sent her one of my other students. And so then those two worked together to do this twin session. And now they're friends and I just love it. I love that they came together through my training and then now they're friends and we've got this whole community. All right, so there are 2 tracks. So there's basics and then there's the expert. So if you're not sure which one to take, you'll want to stick around to hear the difference in the 2. This was the first one I came up with. It was the whole, like, my goal was, if you get through all of these modules, which there are 5, when you're done, you will be able to do a full newborn session. Okay. Well, then people were wanting more than that. They were wanting composites, editing, lighting, pricing. So that's when the expert one came out. Remember earlier when I talked about you have to have a strong portfolio first? So that's 1.0, building a strong portfolio. So it's everything you need to become a master poser. It's safety and equipment. So how to safely pose the baby in every pose. Every pose from the table workflow, 5 wrapping styles, parent posing, both wrapped and unwrapped baby, and then 4 common props like the bed and the bucket. So you'll be an established newborn poser. That sounds funny for me to say a poser. After 1.0. Then there's 2.0. And this is if you're ready for more. So you want more help with running a profitable business. You're ready to jump into a CRM, get your contract, all of that. You're ready to do composites. So like the one right here, you can see with the Christmas tree. So how to shoot and edit a composite. Lighting. For lighting, we did LED lighting, strobe lighting, speed light. It's good to know a speed light, guys, because if your power ever goes out, or if you're in a home where you can't fit a strobe, it's good to know how to use your speed light. And your speed light also can trigger your strobe, by the way. I've had to do that before. And then we have natural light and then backlighting. So lots of lighting stuff is in there. Harder wraps. So you did there's a typo. I still haven't fixed that. Okay, typo on props. 2.0. Okay. Harder wraps like the flower wrap, the 2-tone wrap, knotted, twisted, or knotted and twisted in the first one. Anyway, the harder wraps are in this one. And then groups, things like sibling, family, posing with a dog, parent hands, like when you shoot on black with the parent hands. And then above baby shots like this heart bowl, anything that's above. Okay, tucked in, things like that. All right, so then your objections. I know what you're going to say. Pricing. And then you're also going to say you do better with hands-on. You've already trained with other people. This is what I hear a lot. So I'm going to talk through those a minute. So let's say, and you're in my free group already. I'm going to show you. Oops, let me get out of here. I'm going to pull up the information here. So you guys can still see this. Can somebody just say yes if you can still see my website here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so you can go to this link. It's very easy. Just stacyashphoto.com/coaching, or you can click on the education tab. And by the way, the education tab is where you can get that free workflow guide. So this is going to talk a lot about like your dreams. Can you imagine being a newborn photographer who gets consistent galleries without that struggle, right? Like maybe you panic and like, I don't know what to do in the moment when, they're wiggling or this hand won't pose right. Like imagine yourself being able to overcome that to become a consistent newborn photographer, consistent results every time, nail every pose. You can read all this. And then I'm going to jump right down to, I already talked about what's in each course, so you know the difference. You will get some cheat sheets if you sign up, and then testimonials of people who've worked with me. But then I'm going to click on join now, and you can actually at the top too. If you click join now, it'll jump down to pricing. Okay. So you have options as low as $145 a month. And then if you bundle them, you get $500 off. So some people have opted to do that because they know eventually they'll want to learn about editing. They'll want to eventually learn how to do composites or LED lighting. So they went ahead and got that because you get lifetime access to the lessons. So why not save the $500? But maybe you're like someone who just signed up yesterday They don't need all this basics. They're good with this. They've got a workflow. They're good at, but they need help with like the harder and the business side. Could do just 2.0. Brand new, definitely do plan 1, which is the basics, and maybe do both as a bundle. You get 3 months of coaching with me. If you do plan 1, you get 3 months of coaching if you do plan 2. If you bundle them, you get to be in the coaching for 6 months. But for you guys, I know I was trying to think of a way to help you guys out. So what I'm going to do, if you sign up today, or like, let's see, what is today? Wednesday. So tomorrow's my husband's birthday. So by the end of my husband's birthday, so midnight tomorrow night, if you sign up by then, I'm going to give you the rest of June for free. So on my document where I keep track of my students, I'm not going to put your start date till July 1. So that way you're basically getting the rest of June for free. You'll have to pay now, but you'll get an extension at the end, if that makes sense. So you'll get July, August, September if you do the 3 months. And then if you're doing the 6 months, you'll get 3 more on top of that. And also, if you're somebody, so I know when I was talking about those like objections that you're going to have, if money's tight, you're not sure if this will work for you, any of that where you're unsure, just message me. And what I can do is I can defer your payment. So we can get you in the program now, and we can hold off until the middle of July before your payments start. That way, hopefully, here's what I'm hoping will happen. If you show up to coaching regularly and you do the lessons and you're working at this, what's going to happen is you're going to have some model calls and you're going to see improvement in your posing. So what I want to do is prove to you that this is going to work for a month where you don't have to put any money down. Now, I looked into the checkout page and there was no way for me to set that up. So if you're interested in that, like a 1 month money back guarantee kind of deal where you just want to try it to see if this is going to work for you, please message me and we will figure that out. And I guess you guys probably want to see the pricing hub. And I will just let you in now and then you can try it out. Okay. And then we'll set it up to start later. But anybody who signs up now, I will give you that free month of June. Does that make sense? Anyone have any questions about this? I know it's kind of confusing. So you can do payment plans, $145 a month. But you do save money if you pay all now. Let's see, there's somebody in the chat. April, yes. Okay. I wanted to keep this up so you can see it, but I'm going to close it because you don't need to keep staring at this screen. If you have more questions on it, go to stacyashphoto.com/coaching. And then when you click on whichever one you want, and I didn't mention premium. If you're wanting one-on-one with me and 12 months of support, there's always this option too. It's a big one, but it has a lot and there's bonus videos. If you click on this, it's going to take you to the checkout page. There you go. And you have your options. You've got one-time split payment, which is the same cost as the one-time. It's just split into 2. And then there's 6 months and 12 months. Over here on the right, make sure you're in the right category. So if you want basics, make sure it says basics here or 1.0. And then if you want 2.0, make sure it says it over here. So make sure you're in the right section, okay? If you mess up, just let me know and I can move you over. I'm going to close this. And what questions do you have for me? It doesn't have to be about coaching. It can be. It can be about anything we talked about today. I hope it was helpful. I know we talked about a lot. If you need links for anything, if you need links for lights, props, what else do I have notes? Headband video. I need to do a headband video. I've got a note to get that YouTube link. I'll probably just post that in the group because this chat will go away. I need to get a day of fun for photographers scheduled. Kaylin, you're going to send me your portfolio so you can talk pricing more. Jess is going to do 2 sections on your website, lifestyle and post. Rita's bum up. Let me see if you sent that, Rita. Okay, I see a message from Kaylin. Rita did not. So what I'm going to do is real quick share my screen and show you guys bum up. and see if we can hammer that out real quick. So pose examples, bum up. All right, so what I do during coaching is I keep these folders full so that I can easily pull up poses. So I showed you guys this one. This was in the initial like front opening of the slide. You do want the baby's chin down, and she was talking about like that, the chub on the side. It would be right here by the eye. I know it's hard to see, but the baby's on the incline. Right here is that poser, and it stops about right here at her eye. And so her head, the top of her head and her eyebrow is actually not resting on anything. It's kind of just hanging out in the air. So it could be that the poser could be up too high, which would be causing this part to squish. If the baby's head is falling back, then you need to put some support behind the head to push it more forward. Here's another one you can see. You've got to turn the head so that the chin comes down to the shoulder more. So, I don't know. This is a different angle of bum up. This was a difficult baby. So maybe if you get baby in somewhat bum up, but if you try to curl them or turn their head, they freak out. Then what do? You move your angle. You move yourself so that you can capture the safe shot before trying to move them again. I was trying to find some with squish, but I don't have many. I'm hoping you guys can see though that the baby's on the incline here and the top of the head is up past it. Just different angles with. Okay. Oh, CRM. Yes. CRM. You guys want me to post the CRMs? Link for the table. Okay. Yeah. My internet tabs. That actually is pretty good today. There's always a ton. I hate when I have to restart my computer and it doesn't give me the option to like resume all my tabs, and I have to remember what I had open. Thanks for being here. I'm glad you have internet. We've been on for 2 hours, guys, so I'm going to jump off if there are no more questions, but in the group, I will repost this. It has to process for Zoom first, then I have to download it. I'll repost it. I will also drop all these links. So if there's any other links that you need, please drop them now. But I've got a whole bunch of notes that I'm going to get to you guys. All right. And if you're thinking about joining coaching, just do it. I promise it's worth it. Okay. I want to see more of you. So ever since resigning from teaching, you guys are my people now. I don't have that lounge and that teacher room. So you're my people. I need to meet with you every week. Yes, I will repost this in the group. So just watch in the maternity, newborn, and milestone photography community of photographers with me. All right, toodaloo. Hope to see you some of you in there. Talk to you later.